Mogaetso dumelang ga ya le dumedisang ke morwa Matlaopane ke mo Kalobe ke Neo ga mo Dihapula ke re ke a amogela mo Gospel Church with Neo. This is another episode. YouTubers, we are back. And how do I introduce her? I think when this is our first time we meet, by the way. We've been talking over the phone for a while, actually.
Quite some time,
for months, and this is us meeting for the first time in person, where we are just okay, let's do this. Is it Lynette J?
It's Lynette Jonathan, but some call me Lynn.
Lynn?
Some call me Lynette J. Yeah,
but for brand purpose
Lynette
now.
J. Here we go.
Lynette J.
Lynette J, yeah.
Before we start, just greet our viewers and introduce yourself a bit.
Well, hey everybody. As you heard, my name is Lynette Jonathan, aka Lynette J. And it's so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is all mine. And man, I was trying to check on your music, and you seem to have a good song which out there, and I think we just gonna start to maybe crave more from you with the voice that you have and all of that. But I want us to go back to where your journey started, your experience, and when you said, no, this is something that I'd like to do in the long run.
All right, so basically I was singing from like 4 years old, and growing up in church, doing items at these kind of tent crusades and church meetings. And then I've always had like people pray over me, saying that one day you would release your own music and you are called to be a praise and worship leader. So starting from there, I started in church, started in the choirs, singing. And then my journey actually began in 2010 when I released my first album.
Sure, okay.
I was like, I didn't expect, to actually go and do my own album, because people have always said, you have the potential to do it. And don't you want to do your own album? I'm like, okay, cool. And so, I recorded my first album in 2010, Rest of My Life, a gospel contemporary. So that was very good for me. Basically, it speaks about my life,
your
rest of my life, my life experiences around that time. And God has been good, because one of the songs from the album, Love Someone Else, I was nominated at the 2014 Crown Gospel Awards. Yeah. So I was glad I didn't win, though, but it was okay to be nominated, because I think a nomination is just as good as being a winner, And that was awesome. I took a break for a little while. 2017, I released a single called You Are Not Alone. That went on to win the Best Contemporary at the Crown Gospel Awards that year. So from 2010 to it's like 14 years now, I'm on a journey, music journey, not just with albums, but also leading people into praise and worship, being on the worship scene, the gospel scene.
And the part where you are just focused on, not to say fully focused, but where you shifted a bit to praise and worship, what led you to that part where you just need to start now, especially with different churches where you are doing the praise and worship?
Okay, so basically I am from Durban, by the way, so formerly from Durban.
Most of our guests are from KZN.
KZN, born and brought up there. I moved to Gauteng a year after I got married. So I'm married to my amazing husband, Fabian, for 18 years. Together we have a son, 5-year-old boy. And thank God for that. And all I knew in life was church. I've been born and brought up in a Christian home. So I had no option but to serve God. And then, as I said, starting at an age of 4, doing like church meetings, you would say convening in those cottage meetings and whatever. So I started off in a local church in Durban. And my big break actually came when leading praise and worship was I think it was around 20, when they said to me, don't you want to do an offering song?
But also 20s are your time where you still need to have fun outside there. You need to be young and all of that.
No, I think I was still young and all of that. But I wanted to, because I knew, you know what, Lynnette, that you could do it. You could lead this, you know, you could lead a congregation. And I think it was like, 20 years old when somebody saw the potential in me and said to me, you know what, don't you want to lead an offering song? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And I think once I started, I never stopped. Immediately, you know, the pastor's wife was like, you know what, you're going on to the rosters. And so I was a praise and worship leader in Durban for about 9 years.
At the same church?
At the same church, yeah.
For 9 years?
9 years.
You were serving there?
Serving for 9 years.
It was not a gig?
Not a gig. And then in that 9 years, during that 9 years, another big break came when I was asked to be a backing vocal for the great Alvin Slaughter. He had come and he needed a team in South Africa. So I was one of them that was actually on the backing vocals as well. So that was really amazing for me. And that was my big break. And then I moved to Gauteng in 2007. I was trying to find my way in churches, you know, trying to see where I belong.
Where you
helped out a bit. And I eventually found a church in 2009.
That's like 2 years searching for you.
Well, I helped somebody that I knew for like about a year. But the traveling was a bit far. Eventually in 2009, I found a church. I served for 13 years. 13 long years. And it was amazing. And then, you know, seasons change where you feel like you need to do more. You need to step out now because I just felt within my spirit that my season was changing, you know. Nothing against anybody, nothing against the church. Just, Lynnette, you need to get into a new season now. And currently is where I find myself right now. I am serving in a church, in a local church right now for like almost 2 years. No, under 2 years. But I'm in a season where I know that if somebody calls me, I'm there to assist you. I'm there to, if I get an appointment, I wouldn't say a gig, if I get a ministry appointment, then I'm going. And I have good pastors that actually believe in my gift.
In your gift.
So they like release me to do these things. Yeah.
So it seems like you've been serving a lot in churches, and how has that grown your spiritual life, and how did you manage to be, because it's not easy for musicians to be in one church for so many years?
No, it's not, you know, it's all about the heart at the end of the day. And when I look back on my life right now, and I didn't do it for the money. Let me just say that. Because as you say, a lot of musicians, they move from church to church, you know. For me, it was all about passion. I was passionate about what I did. So come rain, come snow, whatever it is, I'm going to church, serving three services on a Sunday. Sometimes if there's like meetings in the week, I'm going, not thinking about anything else, but going because I love to do what I do. And in terms of my spiritual life, it has really, really gotten me to a place where I can't even begin to tell you the season that I'm now in, you know. When I go to worship, like I always say, I thought about this the other day, and I said, how I would lead for 1,000 people is how I would lead for 5 people in the room. I give my all. I believe that there's no such thing as, you know, because there's one person there, you do whatever, you know. I give my all. And during this time, it's grown me so much to a point where worship, I can't begin to tell you what God is in my life, actually. It's my spiritual life has grown. My life with my family has grown. You know, you say family is your first ministry, and God has been just amazing. You know, sometimes there's no words.
But also, how has your ministry grown since you have moved from Durban to KZN and the new environment, and also now you are still need to push your music, because South Africa, when it comes to contemporary, it seems like we are still not sure where we are going compared to the traditional gospel.
Yeah. So talking about growth, you know, I had to learn a lot along the way. So I would say, like, I started off being this person that, you know, just for that excitement, I would say, although I knew that I had it in me. But to me now, like, I wouldn't just sing. it's like I don't just look for a feel-good song anymore. When I'm leading people, I need to be in a place where I know now that it's no more about the song. Now when I think about it, I say, God, I'm now responsible for the atmosphere in the place. As a worshiper, I'm not responsible for making people worship the way I want to. And that a good friend of mine taught me that recently as well. We are not responsible for making people worship the way we want to. I'm responsible for the presence of God, for the atmosphere. And in that time, learning these things, my spiritual life has really, really grown. And you know what? I don't know everything. I got to be honest with you. There's two things that I abide by in my life is that the learning process never stops. There's always room for improvement. And you know what? If I meet somebody better than me, I would learn from them. I wouldn't want to be jealous of somebody, I would want to take in as much as I can so I could build my spiritual life. But having said that, it's not just only about the singing. I spend time in the Word. I spend time in my prayer life as well. And I've been really, really enjoying that part of it recently. That's the season I'm in now. I feel that being in tune with God is so much more important than anything else. Spirit of discernment in the season, actually.
I think we need to always have the spirit of discernment in everything that we are doing and every spaces that we find ourselves in, so that we don't end up in the wrong places or wrong positions.
Absolutely. So I'm in that space where I don't just run to anything now. I would ask God, is this for me? Like, I would want to hear His voice. And if it's okay, then I would say, okay, fine, I'd go. But I'm not in that season because I've done that. I ran to every gig you could think of because I wanted to put my name out there. Lynnette needs to be seen. People need to, but I'm not in that space anymore. I believe that if I'm in tune with God and if I'm being still in this season, being in alignment, God will open up the right doors for me. So I'd rather chase God. Don't chase look, everybody wants to be blessed. I'd rather chase the blesser
than the blessing.
Because for now.
I think that's something where we are lacking, or we tend to not align our focus, because the Bible talks about seeking Him first and adding everything
else will be added.
So with us, we want to get the everything, and then after getting it, we are not even sure if we want to seek Him or what. We are not even seeking Him again.
Yeah, you forget you forget.
My pastor once told us that he went out on a lunch and they never prayed, or they said, no, let's pray after eating, because we usually pray when we are hungry before we bless the food. And he said, while he was there, the guy said, no, man, let's pray after eating. And they forgot to pray after eating. The guy called him later. You see, we didn't pray. But then once we are hungry, that's when we are praying. But the moment we get full,
then you forget.
You forget everything.
Oh, that's actually a good kind of illustration, or whatever you call it.
Yeah. So you even started to do the praise and worship team. Should I say worship nights and all of that?
Yes.
How is it that going? How did that come about?
All right. So I'm about to share now how that came about. So I'm probably going to talk for a long time, right?
It's not a problem.
It's not a problem. So as I said to you that we've been married for 18 years, my husband and I. 18 years. And for 12 years of our marriage.
How was the experience? How is the experience
now?
Like from the 18 years?
Oh man, I'm loving it. Married life is great. I mean, you go through challenges. Don't get me wrong. But I'm in a space where we're just loving each other. We're just loving God. We're just loving our family time. And yeah, man, 18 down, forever to go.
You're going for 20 now.
Oh yeah, I know. And double.
Strong and strong. Okay, continue with yourself.
So for 12 years of the marriage, we weren't able to conceive a child. We wanted a baby, and
the 12 years of the marriage.
12 years of marriage, we weren't able to conceive a baby. And we just gave up, basically, In that time, you go through your challenges as well, because it's not always a bed of roses. But in 12 years, we struggled. Eventually, in 2018, one night, I said to God, I'm so tired, because I'm going to everybody's functions. I'm seeing everybody else with children. I'm going to church like on a Mother's Day or Father's Day, and we don't get to celebrate these days, you know. And so in 2018, one night, I remember I prayed to God and I said, God, if you give me this one thing, I won't ask you to do anything. I won't ask you for anything else again.
Mm-hmm.
Miraculously, my home opened up in 2018. I was shocked out of my mind. I couldn't believe it. I was like, no, man, can never be me. Because for 12 years, it wasn't happening. Eventually, I fell pregnant in 2018, and I miscarried my first baby. Even though it was painful, but we prayed and we said, God, if you could do it one time, you can do it again.
Was this your first time?
My first time being pregnant, yes. I lost the first one, yes. Eventually, I went for a DNC, and then I went back to the gynae. The gynae said to me, you know what, there's nothing we can do for you, because right now, you wasn't even supposed to fall pregnant. Medically, it's not possible for you to fall pregnant. And I remember I miscarried in June or July, and I think in August I went to him. And all he said to me was, come back in 6 weeks and let's see what we can do for you. And I was never going to go for any treatment. I didn't want to do all those funny things. But when I went back to him in 6 weeks, I was already 4 weeks pregnant. Again, for the second time.
And you were not aware about that?
No. So I kind of had like this idea. I did it. So I said to him, look, I think I'm pregnant again. He says, no, come straight to me. I was already 4 weeks pregnant when he did the test for me. And he looked at me and he said, he did like my scans and whatever. He says, everything is normal, everything is fine. And he says, I don't know how this happened. And it was a Muslim man, 70 years old. All he said to me, he says, I don't know who you're praying to, but keep on praying to the God that you are praying to, because this was not supposed to happen.
And that's a Muslim man saying that?
A Muslim man. And everybody was excited. We did this nice video to announce that they were having a baby. But it didn't stop there, because we were called at 16 weeks. The gynae said to us, so now I had to switch gynaes, because he said to me, you know what, I don't deliver babies anymore, but let me refer you to somebody. So he referred me to a Hindu gynae.
It's
Hindu
getting
woman,
interesting.
right? Referred me to a Hindu woman, and she was like, I wouldn't say too positive, always like speaking like these funny things, but she called us at almost 20 weeks, and she says, we did a blood test, and she says, your son is going to be born with birth defects. And she said to me that, I remember she was sitting opposite me and my husband, and she said to us, we have an option now. Let's go and abort him. Let's terminate him, That is my advice to you.
That's the doctor.
This is the gynae, right, the doctor.
Yeah.
And so my husband looked at her and he said to her, they said to us that we couldn't fall pregnant. Now you're telling us to kill a fully formed baby. We're not going to do that. And she says, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Whatever the odds are, we're going to face it. And I promise you, from that day, the day we saved his life was the day that a new life began for us. Because people have no idea what a precious thing it is to actually carry and give birth to a special boy. So my little boy is special. He's been diagnosed with trisomy 21. And but he's healthy, he's beautiful. Even when she helped deliver him, she said to us, she says, thank you so much for believing, this Hindu woman. And so when Eli was born, his name is Eli.
What does it mean?
It's Eli is it's like a high priest.
Oh, okay.
From the Bible. And his second name is Cairo, which we took from the word kairos, which means God's perfect timing. And when he was born, they diagnosed him with that. And then they said that he had a hole in his heart. And kids like this won't live beyond 6 weeks. And so we prayed. I think 3 months later, we took him back to the heart specialist. And they said to us, they did whatever they could do, like these tests and whatever. They said, you know what? You can bring him back in a year if you want. You can bring him back in 2 years, but we see nothing wrong with him. Hole disappeared. Right? From telling us that he won't live beyond 6 weeks, because he said to us, you're going to have to send him for an operation.
For heart operation?
For his heart, yes. And it's a 50-50. He's not going to live beyond 6 weeks. The guy is 5 years old today. He just turned 5 recently.
And
so
how is it seeing him every day after everything you went through? Because now, when you are busy sharing your story, I'm thinking about Abraham when they couldn't have a kid, and then now he had to sacrifice the son, and they struggled to have a kid.
You know, I say this as I said to you, that the day we saved his life is the day a new life began for both myself and my husband. You have no idea about these type of kids. They are so beautiful. I always say that the love that you have for them, that kind of love, it multiplies. It's like a ripple effect on people. They are such lovable kids, and you think that you need to teach them. No, they teach you. They teach you how to love them. They teach you patience. And I tell you every day. So he has a little bit of challenges where his learning is slow, but that's okay. Because doctors didn't tell us that he can't do this or he can't do that. It's going to take some time to do it. But we're sending him to the specific things that he needs to go to get to that. But he's such a worshiper. So it's going to come back to what you asked me. How did this worship things come about? So this year actually in 2022, God placed a vision on my heart to gather worshipers together, And I'm like, what are you showing me, God, And so this year when I called it Worship Experience 2024, and I said, you know what, I got to do it this year, but I need to ask God why. What is the purpose of me getting these worshipers together? And God reminded me about 5 years ago about Eli. It took me back to that assignment 5 years ago where I gave you this guy. For 9 months of my pregnancy, I stood on stage and I led people into praise and worship with my big stomach and everything, jumping and leading and doing whatever. It was just 2 weeks before I could give birth that I got off stage. Little did I realize that seed was listening to me. And when he was born, no matter what the doctor said about him, that boy was born a worshiper. Today he's 5 years old. He doesn't worry about cartoons or anything. He knows every intro, every outro. He knows all the worship songs. He can sit, he can lift his hands, he can worship 24/7.
As young as he is.
As young as he is. He's learning to speak, but he understands things. So it's a journey for myself and my husband every single day. Watching him grow, watching him do things, because every little thing is a victory for us. What another normal kid can do, maybe he takes some time to do it, but when he does do it, it's like a real victory for us. So we believe that his time is coming. We believe that the miracle is done. I believe that just by having him, that's the miracle alone. The journey is the miracle. The miracle is the journey. And whatever comes afterwards is the outcome, is just the bonus of what's going to come. And so, so Worship Experience, the event that you saw this year, where we connected, Worship Experience is a vision and a purpose for Eli. It's his testimony. And we believe that through this kind of events that, many that come into the place will be healed. Maybe barren women that can't have kids will come into the place and they can have kids. Hearing my testimony,
Because now it just confirms everything that God says, that His word is final. His word is yes, and He will always make the impossible possible.
Yeah.
I mean, you went to doctors, they told you you can't give birth. You have tried that for 12 years.
12 long years. 12 long years.
And it was most definitely a difficult process to be in it.
It was. I mean, you know, you as I said to you, like maybe a good day like Mother's Day, you would want people to wish you, but you know, here's the thing, I used to wonder when I would celebrate Mother's Day, right, or Father's Day, my husband. But here's the thing, because I knew that I wanted a kid so much and I couldn't have a kid. When people ask me, when are you having a child? So I would out of embarrassment, I would say, I don't want to have a kid, man. But in my heart, I knew that I wanted a child. But I realized that every time I said I didn't want to have a child, I realized that I'm speaking negative into that situation. So now, Lynnette, you need to change the way you speak. So I changed the way I speak, and when people said, when are you having a kid? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have a kid soon. You know? And so I continued to speak life into that situation.
And how was the pressure, I mean, like from family, from friends about having a kid? And how would you take that in your own space now? Because now you are alone, you are going through all the thoughts about having a kid, and you know what you are going through.
Yeah, no, it was very pressurizing because remember, I come from a big family, so I have 4 brothers.
Okay.
So I'm the only daughter. The only rose amongst the thorns. Yeah. And all of them have kids. I remember my mom used to ask me like, hey, you must have a baby now, you must have a baby, you know. And then friends, and nobody would understand.
Were you having these conversations with them?
Hey?
Or were you having the conversation with them?
Not at all. Do you know this year, when we decided to have worship experience, I said the only way that I'm going to be set free is if I'm going to give my testimony. My family heard my testimony after 5 years this year. I never shared with them the fact of like when the doctors called us, they didn't know anything. They knew nothing. And on the 18th of May was my testimony in Johannesburg at the worship experience. And that's when I felt my healing come through. So even though I never questioned God, but to an extent, I felt like I couldn't accept it. Like I was in like a bit of like a denial kind of thing. And I just couldn't accept it. But I never questioned God, if that made sense to you.
No, I get you,
it makes sense,
yeah.
Right? Last year on Eli's crown birthday, he turned 4, and I felt the Holy Spirit say to me, you now need to accept. I've chosen you for this. You and your husband, I've chosen you guys for this assignment. I couldn't have chosen better, but I chose you. You now need to accept. Do you know, after I gave my testimony from the 18th of May, that's the only time I felt free.
You were being set free. From the bondage of, I don't know, what can I say?
Like, I don't need to hide anymore. Why must I hide him? He's my child. He's my gift from God. And do you know, from that time, the kid started doing things. He started to stand, started to utter things and whatever. Maybe I thought, God, maybe I'm the one that's holding him back because my husband was fine. But in my heart, I just couldn't accept it. But like God was saying to me, Lynnette, I chose you. You need to accept this now, you know. And so I am free. I'm happy. I love my little boy with all my heart. I think I couldn't love him anymore. And yeah, man, his miracle is there. It's just a matter of time whether he's going to do what he needs to do. There's an army that's praying for him. So yeah.
Sure, man. Sure.
Yeah, I always get emotional, but I'm being strong now.
Yeah, no, it's not something easy that you can just talk about it without emotions in it, because what you went through, I don't think anyone should go through it, especially if you are married and you are always praying to have kids. And now you are being told you need to abort the baby. I mean, you've been praying for the baby and now you are coming with this.
Yeah. But you know what? God chose me, as I said to you. He chose me and my husband. I don't think that he could have chosen better for Eli because, man, we love that boy. He's so loved, and I believe he'll do great things. He is a child of destiny. And I think by starting this worship experience, this vision for him, I'm praying that many will connect their hearts to ours and understand that it's not just about anything else. It's just about gathering the worshipers together. And as I said, people can come into this kind of events for healing, for restoration, whatever it is, for miracles. I mean, we had such a successful event in May, the one you're supposed to come to.
Yeah, that one.
And you couldn't make it to come to, but it was amazing. We went to Durban and we went to Johannesburg, and we ended in Johannesburg, and it was just something else.
Is it something that we will continuously see?
Yes, absolutely.
Or it was...
Absolutely. We are in prep mode right now for 2025. So we have like a group of people that connected with us, that tapped into the vision. I was excited to have my friend from the USA, Minister Bernard Williams. He came through from Atlanta to be with us for this vision as well. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. We're excited for next year.
And also like new music, new album, new
yes,
recordings.
absolutely. So actually I was going to tell you that Thank You is actually new. Thank You I released in 2024.
Yeah.
So Rest of My Life is 2010, You Are Not Alone, 2017, and then Thank You was released in 2024, February this year.
Is it a studio recording?
Yes, it is.
So like I'm thinking like in terms of live recordings, are we going that direction now, or you are still more comfortable with studio recordings?
I'd love to do live. I'm trying to work on something for, But yeah, Thank You was released in Feb this year. Thank You is basically, my journey as well. It speaks about going through the fire. And I think one of the biggest challenges, as I've said to you, was for Eli, And I mean, the lyrics say, I want to say thank you, Lord, for helping me to walk through the fire. And when I talk about the fire, I talk about the situation with Eli. I talk about how my dad died in front of me and was brought back to life.
Wait.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Wait.
I didn't get to share that, yeah.
Died, brought back.
Yep. Like the movies, like you would see it in the movies. My dad died in front of his children and his wife, yeah. In hospital, my dad went for a triple heart bypass and in front of us, and he went into cardiac arrest a week later. And we were actually in the ward at that time. So he just coughed, and then his heart failed in front of us. And I promise you, I was like screaming, I was like crying, because my dad is, everything to me. And my mom just stood at his bedside, and she prayed and prayed and prayed. I think I ran around in the hospital. Don't ask me where I was running, but because, it's like, it's the first time I'm seeing something like this. And then all I could see was the doctors are screaming, resus, just like the movies. I think I came back like after 30 minutes or so, and they were just bringing him back to life. So yeah, I died and came back to life. Also, the lesson there is I've learned how to praise out of situations.
It's very difficult, I'm not gonna lie.
Because also I have a brother. So there were 5 brothers. One died. A week before Christmas, we lost one of my brothers, a great musician. He went on a church trip, and he was going into the canoe, and 2 girls knocked his boat. They were in the lake. He didn't have a life jacket on. He went down unconscious. We found him 27 hours later. I remember at about 4 o'clock the next day, the lifeguard said to my dad, "You know what, Mr. Jonathan, we're going to call off the search at 4:30 because your son's body is definitely washed away into sea.
Somewhere, yeah.
It's somewhere, if we find him, he may not have his ears, eyes, or whatever. There's so much of creatures underwater. But they said that I think he's washed away into sea. So we're going to call the search off at 4:30. And about 4 o'clock, everybody got together and prayed. 4:20, his body was found. 10 minutes before they could call off the search. And I remember my mother just lifting her hands, praying and thanking God for a body. And there too, it was a great lesson, because I've learned how to praise out of my bad situations, how to praise God in my storms.
But how do we just say, God, thank you when we are in the midst of the storm?
I think those are the times where it makes you realize that, that the verse Though your weeping comes at night, but joy comes in the morning. We don't mourn like we have no hope. Those are the times where we know that God is real in our lives, you know. And I've learned to praise through those situations. I've really, those are the situations that have made me strong. And I think for now, even with Eli, I don't think that anything can move me with whatever I've been through. I mean, I'm going through the journey as we speak, 5 years later, you know. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. There's times where I want to give up. There's times where I say, God, what am I going to do? Because I can't make it anymore, you know. But I push through because I look at him and I say, God, you gave me this guy. You do what you need to do now. I can't do it on my own anymore. You know. So, yeah, like the songwriter, we raise our hallelujahs in the middle of the storm.
Yeah.
I'm going to sing in the middle of the storm. And I think being brought up in a Christian home, it made it a bit easier.
I was about to ask now, where's the church in that storm where you are? How's the fellowship? How is the support structure?
Oh, you know what? We have a great support structure. I cannot lie. We really have a great support structure from our church. I actually go to a small church now. I'm happy serving there because there were people that questioned me, but how do you go to a small church? I'm like, I've been on I'm just saying this humbly.
Yeah.
I've been on every size stage you can think of. I've been on a stage with thousands of people. It's okay. I don't need it anymore. I'm okay. I just want the presence of God now. If I get a mic, if I get one person in the room, I'm happy. And yeah, we go to a small church. Well, we will grow. We are growing. But for now, I'm content, I'm happy, and we have a very amazing, our pastor and his wife, and our congregation, very supportive, you know. But I also believe that sometimes I'm in a season where I'm also being still. I'm in my own zone, if I say staying in my own lane. I feel my alone time is also good for me. I don't really need to say everything to everybody. It's between me and God. I've got direct access to him. I don't need to go and blurt out everything to people, you know. I mean, my pastor sometimes, like whatever I'm going through, suddenly the next day is like, hi, Lynn, I'm just thinking about you. I'm praying for you. I'm like, yeah.
That's what you want.
You're just confirming things now, you know, and you call me at the right time, you know. So that's amazing. And you know what? They are pastors that if you get up, if they tell you I'm praying for you, you know there's somebody praying for you. That's how they are. So we've got a great support structure. We've got a great support group of friends. Our circle is very small. There's just 3 couples in our circle, but everybody prays for each other. I know that if I need prayer, I can go to them as well.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm very conscious about this, the circle of friends that we have. We don't just let anybody in as well. Because you don't know who's there to just, for the good times and they leave, you know. You don't know who's genuine right now in these days. So, yeah.
So that this leads us back to the spirit of discernment.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's so strong. And this year, when my husband and I, we said that that's the one thing that we desire the most, is to have a spirit of discernment. We got to know the territories that we step into. We got to know the people that's around us, who's just there, you know, who are the ones to lift you up, who are the ones that's going to be there to just bring you down. And one of the things that we also are in a season of, we don't just speak out anything. Sometimes when you put things out into the atmosphere, you get the dream killers just like that. So, yeah.
Because I think Paul's do mention about the bad company, which always corrupts us, and we always seem to be confused, and we always want to listen to different voices, and we get caught up, and then we feel like we are stuck in one place because of the decisions that we have made and the company that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm grateful for our season right now. I think that, as I said,
would you say it's a nice season?
I love it. I actually like the season that I'm in now. I'll be honest with you, because I'm away from noise. I've learned to keep away from noise. You know, I used to be this person. Let me tell you, even though people treated me bad, and my husband, we would always run back for more abuse. Just because I love doing what I do. Like, and people used to take that for granted because, she'll always come back. Like, I'm just using it, like singing as well. Man, she won't leave the stage. Stuff like that. But when we put our foot down and we realize, you know what, that we are also God's best. You need to respect who we are and what we carry as well. I mean, when I talk about me, I'm not saying anything like boastfully. I humbly say that I paid a price. I've paid my dues.
You paid your school fees.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and I know the cost of what I carry. 20 years, 23 years, it didn't come cheap. It's hard work.
And how is it now compared to back in those days?
I find myself being on a much more mature kind of level, if I say my thinking, the way I am, the way I respond to things. As I said to you, those days I was still young, I was still learning, still running for the mic. Things like that. Now it's okay. It's okay. I find myself in a space where, look, I love church, I love the gathering of the saints, but if I cannot make it, it's okay. I'm at home, my altar's at home. I've got direct access to Him, as I said. That's all that matters, just me and God. The word, my prayer, and that's all, my family. I'm happy.
But you don't neglect the serving. You don't neglect the fellowship.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I don't. Well, if I'm sick, yeah, I'm not going. But other than that, no. And you know what? We have a good bunch of people at church. We've got a team that we're still learning. I don't make myself act like I'm better or I know this, but whatever I do have, whatever knowledge I can impart into you, you can learn from me as well. And as I said, we are a very new church. We're just 2 years old. Started, 2 years ago. And God's been faithful. God has really been faithful.
You've been seeing the hand of God.
We've really been seeing the hand of God, We've got great pastors and we've got a lot of new families, new believers. And I'm glad that, when I go to church, if I'm going for one person that tells me, you blessed me today, that's okay, my job is done, And so, I'm in that space right now.
Would you advocate for musicians to continue to serve at churches? Because
absolutely.
Most of them, we tend to see them at gigs and going to church the next day. It is a bit tricky because the body's tired and now you are far away from home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what? I think also that's a very touchy subject. It's a very touchy thing because also you notice even with the gospel musicians, they find that the world gives them more because they find that the churches don't take care of them. Financially, yeah. So they're always looking for something else, But of course they need to be in church. If you've come from a Christian home, of course you need to be in church.
But now let's go back to your church, which is 2 years old. How does it now take care of you when they are still trying to build, if I may put it that way?
So I don't ask my church for anything because we've walked a journey with our pastors for many years. We know their hearts, and we are there to help them to build at the end of the day.
You are also carrying the bricks.
Yes, absolutely, because so the moment we knew that they were opening up a church, we were like, you know what, our hearts connected to their hearts. And
But then you left the 13-year church for
Yes.
this one. Was it not a difficult situation to...
It was a very difficult situation. Let me be honest, in 13 years, I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved the church. I loved the vibe. But I felt within myself that I needed to grow as Lynnette J. Yes, I serve you. Yes, I love you. But I felt a bit stagnant with my ministry. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for everything, and I've learned. I cannot say that I didn't learn anything. Because normally, when people leave churches, they always want to badmouth the church. No, I've learned a lot from them, And yes, I still love them. I will still respect them. But I felt within myself that I felt frustrated. if I may say. Like I felt I have so much more to give.
But you feel like you have reached your ceiling.
I've reached my season, and I've reached this thing where I now need to step out and build myself, build the ministry that I have inside, and because I've got so much more for people. People need to hear me now, you know, what God has instilled inside of me at the end of the day. And yes, I loved serving, loved being in the team, but I felt as a worshiper, there's so much more I can impart, you know. And so, yeah, I explained to them, and my season was just over.
And how did the pastor say to take it? Because it's
you know,
not easy to...
No, it wasn't easy for them.
Especially if it's your daughter in the house or your son,
Yeah, no,
and now you have to release them.
It wasn't easy for them. That's a subject on its own. But look, I still love him. I still love them. I respect them. And I think that if I want to visit, I can always visit.
It's home will
I never
always
left
be
in a
home.
bad way. I never left in a bad way. I think for 13 years, I could lift up my head up high because I served you. And with no hidden agendas, I took nothing from you. I gave you my everything through my 9 months of pregnancy. There were times when we never had a car. 6 months, paying people on a Thursday. After work, I used to go and sit at people's houses, wait for band practice. After band practice, pay people to take me home. Pay people on a Sunday morning to take us to church and bring us back. 6 months. Every week, we didn't have a car. That's what you call dedication. But you know what? I didn't do it for anything. God sees. God saw at the end of the day. You know, my kid was just 4 weeks in winter. He was born in June. I took him back because I loved what I did. I couldn't stay at home. Passionate, you know, about what I did. So, yeah, through the 13 years, I just needed to get out for myself. Not for anything else. Not because I didn't like the church. No. Not because I didn't like the pastor. I needed to get out for myself and find who I am. And the moment I stepped out, God opened up some great doors. Whereas I ended up being on Faith TV, one of the biggest stations in the world. I was called to lead worship with the guys, with the team there. I've been to their conferences. I've even traveled to Kenya, actually. But this was like a way back. Being in my previous church, actually, there was a pastor that came. And he heard me lead worship on the Sunday morning. And he went to the sound guy, who he didn't know was my husband. He said, you know what, I got to get this lady to my church, you know. And so he says, I just love the way she leads worship, and I got to get her in my church. And that was my first international break, to travel out of South Africa. Yeah, and lead worship as well. So I've been around, you know, one of the things that I always say about myself and you know, all these years as well is that I always ask God, why would you choose me? You could have chosen anybody in the room. You could have chosen these other great people in the room. But why do you keep choosing me? You know? And I'm always reminded that I'm always the one pushing people. I'm never selfish. I will always open up doors for somebody else. And God is like, you know what? You've sown those seeds. You know, I don't need to choose like a Whitney Houston. I'm choosing you, you know. And so I thank God for the favor that he's bestowed upon my life all these years. And I think that being an independent artist, I've done well, if I may say. Thank you, God, you know.
But there are usually challenges being an independent artist, and frustrations and all of that. How do you continuously push your musical journey or your music? As
You know, God has really been connecting me now to people. When I started my first album, I remember I used to run behind people. There was a guy from UK, but you know what? Running behind people also helps, because nobody's going to do anything for you if you don't.
Bed, yeah.
You know? So I remember this producer from Premier Radio came to South Africa, and I knew he was at some location shooting.
Please hold. NK screen. Continue.
So there was this producer that came from London, from Premier Radio. And I remember you were shooting somewhere. And I said to my husband, you got to take me there. I got to take my CDs to this guy. That's how I used to do it. Go running around, meeting this person, that person. But look, it helped me, connecting with people. It helped me in a way. And yeah, I mean, my music plays in London. Somebody got a hold of me on Facebook from the US. You Are Not Alone was playing in one of the stations in the USA. And it was amongst the playlist of Tasha Cobbs, your Travis Green.
Yeah.
Lynette Jonathan was there.
Amongst them, amongst the greatest.
Amongst the greatest. So I'm proud. I mean, Thank You came out this year. I think in a week it was number 16 on the gospel iTunes chart. Yeah. So, you know, God has really been connecting me to people in these days as well.
So you are reaching more people outside South Africa.
I'm reaching more people, yes, and I'm trusting God that He will open up some even greater doors. Yeah.
From your testimony, what is it that you want people to take from your story?
My story, as in my music journey, or with
Eli? Your life.
My life.
Your life, your testimony. Because I'm just thinking and like, man, I don't think I could have survived what you went through.
You know what? I'm a fighter. I'm really a fighter. I've really, what can I say? With the strength of God, managed to just push through whatever situation I've been in. And I always take it back to songs, man. No matter what I go through, I vow to praise you through the good and through the bad. And God first in my life has really, really been the foundation. I don't need to tell people the obvious things. Put God first. You should know to put God first, especially in the gospel thing, you know. But that's what I did. I've never given up, even though there were times. But God would come through at the end, man. Lynnette, don't give up. So yeah, He's chosen me. I'm chosen. I've seen it in my life. As I said to you, I've seen it that God would keep on choosing me. Even though I tried to run away, He would like keep roping me back. There's a purpose for you.
Yeah.
There's a purpose for you.
So what can people expect from you now going forward? Your music, what can we be looking for?
So you're going to be looking out for also the worship experiences as well, right?
Okay.
So that's going to be an annual thing that we're going to be doing as well. So we're looking to actually take it out of South Africa as well now. Trying to get it to different places.
Out of South Africa.
Out of South Africa. I want to see if we could, my husband and I want to see if we could merge with different people. Maybe the choirs or whatever, you know, just try to work with different people or, you know, outside South Africa as well. So you can look out for that. And then I'm busy with a worship album at the moment, trying to feature some artists on there as well, trying to get some good names on there. So yeah, you can look out for that as well.
And now, how's that going? Is it coming all right or? It's
coming. You will never believe every single day I'm in the Word and God is just dropping. I'm just downloading from God every day. And one of the days I just finished praying and there's the melody came into my head. I'm like, and God just dropped a scripture, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. There's something here. Immediately I took my phone, I started to record it, I started to write. That's the space I'm in at the moment, you know, with the Word and what I'm doing. So
in the secret place.
In the secret place, yeah. And I mean, I love, like my favorite verse is be still and know. And I'm applying that in my life every day. I'm just being still in this season. I'm not running, I'm telling you, I'm not running. I'm trying to disconnect from the negative, the talking and whatever, shutting out the negative and just staying in my lane and just hearing from God in the season. You know what? It's working, eh? It's working. I tell myself sometimes if I could go back and do something right, put it right, I would. But then I needed those lessons to be the person I am today. Yeah. I'm not perfect. We're not perfect, yeah. And my story with Eli as well, you know, that's just a thing on its own.
Continue sharing that story, eh?
Hey?
Continue sharing that story.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, I always get emotional when I do share it. It's such a thing.
Honestly speaking, I think this is one of the rare shares we've ever heard. Like, emotions are involved and all of that. So,
No, I bawl. I normally bawl my eyes when I talk about him. I'm actually strong today. You know, but you see, as I said to you, I got my healing on that 18th of May where I was free. And I said, I'm done now with this crying. Now people need to hear, this. So, yeah.
No, man. Thank you for coming and sharing your story. Hey.
So I got to ask, am I the first Indian on your show?
Guys, this is the first time where I've spoken for... How long did we speak English for? 55 minutes.
Wow. Damn. Wow.
55 minutes, like speaking English. So, yes.
That is awesome. See, I taught you. I'm glad you're here today. Wow.
This is the first time where we've had an Indian guest in our place. And, yay. We are hoping our viewers going to enjoy this because for me, it was a bit touchy.
Yeah.
It was emotional.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
In your closing remarks, what would you like to say to the people? And where can they find you, your socials and all of that?
So, as I said when Neo asked me what has helped me over the years, I just want you to keep on pushing on. Be still in the season, listen to the voice of God. Have a spirit of discernment, but never give up. That's what I would say to you. And no matter through the good times, through the bad times, know that God has chosen you. And as the Bible says, that He knows the plans that He has for you. Not to harm you, but to prosper you. And keep on pushing on. Never give up. And you can catch me on Lynette Jonathan on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as well.
TikTok?
Yeah, YouTube. I just managed to get on TikTok. I'm not much of a TikTok.
Because I think
But I need to get on there.
That's where you get more reach also, like in terms of your brand, and you get to just get different.
I'm actually going to be starting to do that. I'm so sorry, I'm a bit slow. But I managed to get a guy that handles my social media now.
But also you are in your be still moment.
Absolutely. So when I do get out, and
because you get to that season where there's a season of thanking God, but for you just want to in the secret place.
Just for now.
With the Most High God.
Correct, yeah. Because remember, I lived half my life. When you reach your, I don't want to say my age, but anyway. But there's a lot of things that fall away. You don't want to talk to too much of people. You don't want to run to everything, as I said to
every
you.
platform that you get to.
Every platform, no.
Every stage.
No. I'm in that season where I don't want to do that, man. If I can go, if God's telling me to go to a small stage, I'll do it. And so as I said, I'm in the season where I'm still, but when I do come out, I will come out.
No, thank you for gracing our studios here. This was a different one from all of that.
I hope you enjoyed it though, right?
I enjoyed it. I think this is one of those where I'll keep on going back to them.
Yeah.
Because now you are just thinking about the hand of the Lord. You are just thinking about what God can do, and there's literally nothing that He can't do.
Listen, miracles are normal. They're normal.
Sometimes you feel like this is a story, but then now it's happening to someone close to you, and then you are, hey man, we serve a great God.
We serve a great, absolutely. And timing is so important. Your seasons are important, So in my life, in my husband and my life, it was just a season that we had to go through, because we almost lost each other as well. But we had to learn to start to come back to each other, start to come back to our first love, which is God, and then put ourselves right as well. And then, okay, here we go, 12 years later, here's another assignment for you.
But before we could close, now in that 12 years, one could decide to leave. One could decide to say, let me try to have a baby outside. But you guys,
that was never, even though you go through challenges, but something like divorce was never on our mind. Something like, no ways, no. We will get through it. I mean,
because God was at the center of this.
Absolutely. You in life, you go through challenges, you make mistakes, but you're not perfect, And we had to find ourselves back to each other. We had to find, we had to find God again in situations. And And then that's when we eventually did come right, and then You Are Not Alone came about, wrote that, and then Eli came the next year, 2019 actually.
Yeah, man.
So,
I can't thank you enough. Thank you for sharing your story with us,
man.
and I hope it's gonna change someone's life there, guys. Man, I don't know what to say. My bundles are depleting. Catch us on Hope Live Radio on Saturdays at 8, and then repeat on Sunday. And also we are on all social. It's Gospel Church with Neo from Nanewa Hamundi Apula until we meet again. Thank you.